Hello, everybody, and welcome to this demo for Kermode Education. I am very excited to be working with the BC Library Co-op again this year for our second year. My name's Sean, and yeah, we're going to take a look at what Kermode is and some of the updates that we've done in the last year. And of course, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Or if there's anything that you want to know later on, you can always email us at info@kermodeeducation.com, and we can do a more in-depth demo for you or answer any questions that you may have. So thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, this is being recorded so that you can watch it later, or of course you can share it with your colleagues as well. Okay, so what is Kermode Education? So Kermode Education helps families and kids evaluate online sources and start to build digital literacy and media literacy skills, and really start to think critically about all the information that they are bombarded with online. Our families and especially our kids are inundated with information online, and I think at all ages we can really struggle to separate what's real and what's not, and what's true and what's not, between misinformation and disinformation. The list goes on, and these are skills that we can all build, and but it is very complex, right? And so a tool like Kermode really helps you work through. It gives you some structure to say, hey, okay, these are some of the things that are really important and that I need to know to be a strong digital citizen, or to help my kids be much better digital citizens. And thankfully, it's very immersive, it's very interactive. So it's not just that flat that TED Talk style where it's I have knowledge and I'm giving it to you, and then you maybe regurgitate it to me later on. It's immersive. So we're discovering things, we're exploring these ideas, and that's really where real learning takes place. And that's where we start to build skills, right? And that's what we're really going for here is, a TED Talk or lynda.com, LinkedIn Learning. Those things work really well for introduction to accounting, or how do I fix my sink? Digital literacy is far more complex than that. There's lots of gray area. It changes rapidly. There's lots of emotions involved, right? We're screaming at each other in the comment section, so people are pretty fired up in there. And it's how do we understand all this noise, and how do we evaluate it so that really we can not only be better digital citizens, but we can be more well informed. We can have a worldview that's based on factual information. And I think we know, to me, it's one of the most important skills we'll ever have, especially as 21st century learners, because it impacts the way we vote, right? It impacts the way we interact with one another. It impacts our mental health and our self-esteem. All of these huge things that go into the health of our world and our own happiness. It really often for a lot of people comes down to that digital literacy, media literacy piece. And so Kermode can really help us with this. So how does it work, and what are the updates that we've done in the last year? Let's take a look. All right. So the way we access information these days is there's sort of three ways. So we find information on social media, we use news aggregators, and more often than not, if we're curious about something, or we're doing a report for school, or we heard something, we want to find out more about it, we go to the old Google machine and we say, hey, Google, I'm curious what you mean by cyber ethics. Okay, so we punch that in, and Google says, hey, Sean, I found 153 million results. Here's kind of 10 or 15, right? And so there's some major filtering going on, but we often don't really understand how Google works. It's really easy to use, and it's amazing, and that's as much as we think it through. And we obviously need to be better than that. And so here's some of the results. So cyber ethics, the first one's Wikipedia. Obviously, I recognize Wikipedia. People vary on their belief in whether Wikipedia is a good source or not. Personally, I think it's a great place to start. But obviously, that's up to individuals, teachers, and individual parents and kids to put what emphasis you put on Wikipedia. Number 2 is a website called geeksforgeeks.org. I don't know much about this site. And it's the number 2. It's the number 2 website that pops up on Google for cyber ethics. And so I look at it and it looks okay. And there's lots of information here that looks plausible. And that's as much as I think it through. And now this is part of my worldview, and I kind of go on about my day. And yeah, we need to do better than that. We need to think much more critically about what we're reading, right? And so thankfully with Kermode is really easy to use. So all you have to do is copy the URL of the page that you'd like to analyze, log in to our app, and then paste that URL into our analysis bar once you log in. And so for a lot of libraries, you'll have an individual license key, and we also have embedded URLs. So your patrons don't need to go through the license key process. And so it's not something that all of your patrons have to know. Or what we've done in the past is they use the first, I think, 5 numbers of their library card. And so it makes it really easy for them to log in and use it. But yeah, we also have embedded license keys so that it's just a link. They just have to click a link that's either on your homepage or on their home screen, and they can go directly to the analysis bar without logging in at all. So it makes it very, very easy to access. So once I hit analyze, Kermode analyzed that page for over 20 different elements of media literacy and digital literacy. And that's things that are cornerstones of evaluating information. So that's like, who wrote this? When was this written? Are they citing sources for the things that they're saying, right? And what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of nice visuals. You're seeing videos. So we have video tutorials that are new to Kermode in the last year. These talk about big issues within digital and media literacy. And what we've seen is that videos are kind of everything for engagement online, especially for kids. And so having video as part of this makes it a much more engaging interface for families and for kids. What you're not seeing is a lot of answers, right? And the reason that we do that is because if you are, what we're finding is that if you're given an answer, you're not really thinking, right? You're not building any skills. You're not learning anything. And so, and we've also found that if Kermode was a site that said, hey, 80% of that site that you just analyzed is garbage, then we have that confirmation bias where if that disagrees with what I'm predisposed to believe, we just disregard that information and we move on. And again, we're still not learning anything, right? And so Kermode is completely built around exploring these ideas, asking really good questions, and really being immersed in the learning and understanding what I need to know about this website to evaluate it. And that's the only way that we really learn and we really change the way that we think and build skills for long term. And so as you can see, there's timeliness, there's content creator, there's sources. What Kermode also does is we go much deeper. So we go into things like punctuation. So we do a punctuation count for you, and we start to ask questions like, what does it mean if there's lots of question marks? What does it mean if there's lots of exclamation points? What if all of these are even, right? Every one of these mini lessons, point of view is a great one. So we do a pronoun count for you, and you could do that yourself as a user. You're not going to, right? And what that's really nice for is that there's an explosion of opinion as news online, where someone's taking factual information and they're interpreting it for you. And it usually fits what they already believe, right? And all too often they ignore things that go against what they think. And for a lot of people, it's really hard to tell the difference between opinion and factual news. And so point of view can be a really good way to it's a really important skill to have. It can be a really important tool for you to differentiate between opinion and factual news. And so what we have here is a good to know. So if you're a parent and you're looking at this and you're like, point of view, what does that have to do with anything? We always have a good to know, and we have guides that I'll show you in a second too that go much deeper into each of these. But for this element, for this mini lesson right here, we have a good to know at the bottom that you can open, and it's 1, 2, maybe 3 sentences that says, hey, this is why this matters. This is why this is important. And that gives you that basis of knowledge so that now you can explore these questions in more detail and from a basis of understanding already. Each one of these mini lessons also has a notepad. So if you're a family that is what we're seeing is there's families who they know how important this is, but they don't know where to start, right? I'm a parent and I didn't get a digital literacy talk when I was a kid, right? And even if I had, the internet is so different now, it would be meaningless. I have nothing to model it on. I don't know how to structure that conversation with my kids. And so that's what Kermode is doing. It gives you that structure. But then you run into this next piece where it's like parents don't always have time. You don't feel like you have time. There's soccer practice, there's school, there's work. And so with these notepads, what's kind of neat is kids can analyze something that they've seen on social media or just on Google or something from school, and they can put their answer in here, and they can actually answer these questions or say what they're thinking or say what questions they have themselves. And then the parent can see this when it comes time to actually talk about this. So you can talk about a real world issue, a real world article, real world information that your child is struggling with together, right? And what's extra cool is that Kermode doesn't take, it doesn't collect, it doesn't store, it doesn't sell any personal information from any of its users. And that kind of goes back to the license key that we punched in to start, right? And so because it's just a license key, it's generic. Everyone has that same license key. We have no idea who's using it, which is really, really nice from a privacy standpoint. But what's cool is because you can type your answers in here, you can still have personalized information. And the way that we do that is that every time you do an analysis with Kermode, it gives you a unique URL. And with that unique URL, I can share that with my parents or with my family, brothers and sisters, if we're going to be talking about it. And they're going to be able to see my answers, and they're going to know that I wrote them because I sent it to them, right? But at the same time, Kermode and anyone on the internet who accesses these things has no idea who's using it. So completely private usage. Okay, so the first few mini lessons we looked at, that was information that Kermode was pulling directly from the article that you analyze. The next set of information is from information that's from the website and from the metadata. And this is information that users don't generally have a lot of access to. And so this is things like, where is the domain hosted? Who registered this domain? When was it registered? Excuse me. And those are really important because what we see a lot of now is kind of mimic websites or zombie newspapers where it looks a lot like something that you trust. It looks like a newspaper in your state or your province. It looks like the New York Times or it looks like the Globe and Mail, but it's not. And they put their own information in there, right? Or it's just a fake. It just completely mimics it, but it's fake. And so there's no way for you to really tell. And often we just trust those websites and move on to the next thing and read what they have to say. And so with Kermode now pulling this information, so this one is in the US, which is probably Amazon Web Services, like so many others. But it'll also tell you if it's hosted in the Cayman Islands or in Turkey or Australia or wherever. And if that's incongruous with what I'm reading, well, that's a big red flag. So now I can say, okay, I need to find more information that fits with what I'm reading here. And that's the same for who registered it and when. So if this was registered 2 weeks ago by Colonel Sanders, but I think that I'm reading the Chicago Tribune, that's an issue, right? The Toronto Star, that doesn't make sense. And so now I can go back and say, okay, is this site legitimate or not? The third category is these big internet tools that we use. So that is things like Wikipedia. That's things like Google. So how did you get here? And let's understand these tools that are in the top 10, top 20 of tools that we use online every day, right? And with Wikipedia, it's how are these articles created? How are they edited? How does Wikipedia make money, right? So if you put a Wikipedia article into the Kermode app, that's the first mini lesson that's going to pop up. We have it for Google. We have it for confirmation bias is one of the biggest ones for me, by far, I'd say. And the amount of people who really understand how confirmation bias affects the information that they see online is kind of scarily small at times. And so the idea that we're all in these information bubbles, because all of the algorithms for every search engine, every social media app, they know that we love seeing things that agree with what we already believe. It makes us feel great. We're so smart, right? And so we're in these information bubbles, and it's getting to the point where on any contentious issue, we really can't understand why anyone could believe something that I don't think. And it's really deteriorating the conversation around these complex issues. We're just screaming and yelling at each other. And unfortunately, for some people, seeing a more extreme version of what they believe is exciting. And so they go a little bit more extreme, a little bit more extreme. And we're obviously seeing major social issues around just being fed everything you believe all the time and not having a reasonable view from the other side. And so this mini lesson has a lot to do with understanding what confirmation bias is, how it affects what we see, and understanding that the responsibility for finding a reasonable argument from the other side, whether you believe it or not, is up to you. It's not up to Google or Facebook or TikTok. It really is up to you to find that reasonable argument, either online or in real life, so that we can have more civil conversations with one another to figure these things out. The fourth and final category is social emotional learning, right? And it's just massive online. You think about things like emotional tone. And so when you think about social media posts and news that you find on social media, it's often about, you'll see a salacious headline or a really intense video or photo. And if you click on the article, it really doesn't match the intensity of what that article is really saying. And often we don't even click on the article, right? We just see it, we get upset or we get excited, and we share or we like it or we comment on it. And people who create content online, they know that. They know that if you're going to feel something strong, you're much more likely to engage with that content. And that really is the currency of the internet right now, right? Is that engagement piece. And so, again, understanding how you feel after you see something online is incredibly important. And starting to understand that it's planned, like they want you to feel that way, and maybe understanding how you feel and taking the time to really understand that entire concept before you dive in and start screaming and yelling or sharing information that is potentially dishonest or misinformation or what have you. And that's actually why we added patience as well. And this is really cool. This is a really cool opportunity. So how is patience an important part of your digital citizenship toolbox, right? And it's like, do I wade in screaming and yelling, or do I wait, or do I form my opinions with breaking news before all the facts are out, or can I take an hour? Can I take a day? And then, if it's still really important to me, then I can go in and say something, or I can work with someone that I know that I think is wildly misinformed, instead of just adding to this constant negativity online. And so those are the big pieces of your analysis. And so you have information that's pulled straight from the article. You have information that's pulled from the website and metadata. You have big internet issues like confirmation bias and how all the tools work that you're using. You have social emotional learning. And of course, you have these videos. And there are there is quite a bit of randomization built in, so that every time that a family or an adult learner is analyzing something online, they're going to see these in a different order. They're going to see different videos. So there's 3 videos that pop up every time you do an analysis. And that's out of, I think we have 12 to 15 now. And so it goes through all of them. You're always getting new opportunities to engage with a different element of digital and media literacy. You're always getting a new chance to learn something new. And it makes it much more engaging if you're not just seeing the same thing over and over again. And that goes with some of the visuals as well as some of the inquiry questions. So every mini lesson has 2 or 3 different inquiry question packs. So again, if this doesn't resonate with you, you don't understand why this matters, the next time you do an analysis, you'll have another chance to see different questions that might resonate with you so that you can build on your knowledge of this element. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Kermode homepage because with your license, with your library license with Kermode, you get access to the resources page as well. And we have tutorial videos. We have links to our YouTube page, which has webinars around all different types of digital literacy topics. And of course, we have these PDFs. And so this is part of something that we updated over the last year. So we have Kermode for families and Kermode for adult learners. And we've updated those guides, both visually and content-wise, so that they're easier to use. And they go much deeper than they used to. So we used to have all of the things that were on the app, plus maybe 1 or 2 more. And now we get into things like cyberbullying and online-offline balance and creating positive content. And all of these really cool digital media literacy issues that you can explore with your family or for yourself. And it's really nice because it's really cyclical. So each one of those sections still has those inquiry questions built in because we want you exploring. We want you building skills. And so when you're exploring those ideas and those questions, there's a very good chance that you're going to go online to find answers, right? That's what we do. And so that gives you another opportunity to find information online and then use the Kermode app. And so it's this really nice cyclical feel, which you're exploring something within the guide, but then that takes you online for research. And so you're getting another chance to learn something new about digital literacy every time. So it works on multiple levels. We've also created posters for libraries. So to help your patrons understand that they have the Kermode license and that it is available to them and what it is to help increase awareness and usage. We have the video tutorial videos. We have optimized analysis. So our analysis is always getting better. So it's not AI. I feel like AI is used way too much. It's not machine learning, but what we do is every time that it does miss something, and it does sometimes, all right? There's software that can block some of the things that we look for, or sometimes things are labeled in a different way. It can even just be an extra letter. And so it won't find, who registered the site or something like that. But every time it misses it now, we're able to increase the optimization of the tool. And so it is much more powerful every year. It gets better. We do have webinars. So we have a SSK Cyber Club, which we do once a month. That just looks at big internet digital literacy topics. And of course, we're happy to partner with our public libraries. If you're doing any type of digital citizenship or digital literacy programming, we're happy to help in any way we can, or even do short webinars with some strategies for parents to help them understand ways that they can help their kids around digital citizenship. It's not an infomercial for Kermode. It's just strategies that they can take home and use right away, really simple things that they can try. And then, of course, at the end of that, we say, hey, and you have access to Kermode, and you should use it because it can really help you, help your kids and yourself as well. So that's what's new and exciting with Kermode. Thank you so much for stopping in. And again, if you have any questions, please just let me know. You can email info@kermodeeducation.com. And we're very much looking forward to working with the BC Library Co-op and all the wonderful libraries in BC in the coming year. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Goodbye.